guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoilery gush for Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. As I said, this video will have spoilers in it, so if you haven't read this book, go ahead and check out my spoiler-free review, which we linked on the screen. So like I said in my review, I didn't love this book as much as I love Daughter of Smoke and Bone, but I still really enjoyed it, but there were elements of it that were kind of disappointing for me. As far as the world building, I have no complaints about this. I like that Laini Taylor is kind of building this sort of multiverse that we learned about within the Daughter of Smoke and Bone world, and that you get kind of pieces of that here with like the Seraphim. I love that it's not a complete tie-in or anything. I was expecting more of a tie-in, honestly, but I like that we have the Seraphim, we have the whole like souls evanescing, all that kind of stuff that we already are aware of if you've read Daughter of Smoke and Bone, but you don't need to have read Daughter of Smoke and Bone to get any of that. I also really like what she does with themes of war, which is something that I talked about. I think she handles that so well. She did it really well in Daughter of Smoke and Bone, and she's doing it very well again here. I like that she shows kind of generational trauma. This is very devastating. They show how you can hate on both sides, so there's been atrocities on both sides, how the gods used to just take people and rape them in more ways than one, and we're breeding them, and there's obviously going to be more to that. Like, where did all these kids go? Obviously, we'll talk about Laszlo, like, being around, but, like, where did everybody else go, etc., etc. We have all this evidence with all of the humans about these scars of war, also with the Godspawn, but not quite as much because you really only have Minya feeling that, and you don't really get to see much of her. I think that might be explored more in the second book, but you definitely have all of the humans being like, we have all this psychological trauma from the war, and then you especially have, like, the Godslayer, whose name I'm forgetting off the top of my head. Errol Fane or something, I think, and him being, like, so traumatized that he can't sleep, again, because some of what Sarai was doing, but also just because he was very conflicted about what he felt he had to do, and he saved his people, but also kind of condemned himself by doing that. I love all of that discussion that she throws in here. As far as the characters, I was really expecting a Laszlo and Theon love thing. I definitely thought that there was going to be some gay relationship stuff happening, and I was very surprised when there wasn't, which I think is what even got me more when we had the insta-love with Sarai, which I'll get to in a second, but just like, man, like, do we have to go down this road again with Laini Taylor? I don't want to. I've already done it, and I was totally fine with it before, but I can't forgive it again. But I really like the characters generally. I love Laszlo as a main character who is just so, like, honest and pure and can't even really think an evil thought, which makes it very interesting about his origins. And I really like Sarai as well as a character. I'm not attached to either of them as much as I was to, like, Karoo, for example, from Daughter of Smoke and Bone, but I still really like them. I really like the imagery around the Godspawn and around the gods mythology. It's my thing. And obviously her being the daughter of the goddess of despair and having, like, this imagery with the moths and all this stuff is really cool and something that I really liked. So as far as the insta-love, I personally can't forgive it in this series. I forgave it in Daughter of Smoke and Bone for reasons I already talked about there, and I'm not going to talk about here because some people might not have read Daughter of Smoke and Bone that are watching this. I forgave it there. I can't forgive it here. It is... they fall in love within, like, one dream sequence, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, they both were, like, alone for so long and secluded. Stop. No, then it's not insta-love. So stop using imagery and phrasing and everything that's insta-love. That's love, we're so bonded, all this stuff. I will do anything for her, I'll do anything for... Then in the narrative, it should be very much like this is lust, not love. But in the narrative, it's very much written because of her beautiful writing style of, like, we are made to be together. And it's just like, you guys need to all chill. Like, this is way too much. So when we had all these beautiful passages of, like, them falling in love and kissing, I was just, like, completely glazed over. Like, I don't like this. And that's something that really took away from the enjoyment of the story for me, because now it's a theme within Laini Taylor's books, which I really don't like. And it's something, it's like, can you not write, like, an actual burning love story? It doesn't always have to be this, like, insta-lovey type setup. There's always a twist to it. You know, you're falling in love in dreams, you're falling in love in, like, the Daughter of Smoke and Bone, whatever. But it's still not, I don't forgive it. I gave it a pass within the first series because I really enjoyed it and I liked the tropes involved with it that she, like, was spinning around. I don't like it here. I also didn't care as much about the side characters, like particularly the Godspawn. We have a little bit of Minya, you know, Ruby, all of them, but I didn't really, like, love them as much as I loved the side characters within Daughter of Smoke and Bone, so that kind of sucked. I think we'll see, again, more of them now that Laszlo's, like, up there with them, and we'll get to see all this stuff. But in this, I just didn't really, like, care when we're having, like, Farrell and Ruby's, like, you know, love thing happening in the Sparrow love triangle. Like, I just really was like, this is distracting from the main part of the story. So I did care a little bit more about, like, the humans and stuff, and, like, Errol Fane and his wife, and that story was a little bit more, like, in line with what I was really liking, but some of the Godspawn stuff I was just like, I really don't care. So I'll repeat here what I said in my review as far as the pacing. Again, I think her writing style is beautiful, her world building is beautiful, her characters are really well done, but she struggles with pacing as a writer. And so we had this ending that was whirlwind, but that really, like, the pacing of the whole story could have been much better. So as far as the ending, I know a lot of people have very conflicting thoughts about it, and you really either love it or hate it. I am like fairly okay with it, but also a little bit disappointed. So I actually like that Sarai like died. I'm sure that'll get repaired. Like, I don't think she's gonna stay dead or anything, because you obviously, like, I knew you have Minya who can harness ghosts. Like, it's gonna get worked out in some way. But I don't love that Laszlo is actually a god spawn. So I was fully expecting, because we have this multiverse with all of these different like worlds and stuff, that Laszlo came from another world. Like, technically the god spawn are from another world too, kind of thing, because they've implied that with the Seraphim, whatever. But I expected him to not be a god spawn, and it kind of takes away from like even their love story, because it's supposed to be like this, again, as she does, these like star-crossed lovers, you know, different races, whatever kind of stuff. And to have him also be a god spawn, I feel like takes away a little bit from that as well. But it also lends to this whole like, where did the kids that they were breeding go and all of that? Because I'm feeling like they went through, like, they sent them through different portals and different worlds and stuff, but could be wrong. So I was expecting him to be from another world. That would have been cool. I would have really liked that. I do kind of like that he is like the most powerful one, kind of. Like, he's from the, whatever the guy's name is, I'm completely forgetting, but like the main god. I like that he has that ability, and that he's so kind, so he's so different from him, and that obviously he was with the humans, so the humans have a soft spot for him, so he can be that bridge between them kind of thing, because they know that he's not a bad person, all that stuff. But I do feel like this sets up a lot of like miscommunication stuff, which I'm not a big fan of for the second book. And then just now that Minya's kind of in control, and that the only time he was really mean, because he was being all like, oh, my love, is to her, and so now they're having this power struggle. I don't know. I'm not as excited as I could be about this. I am not sure if this will be a book that I'll immediately buy and read when Muse of Nightmares comes out. I don't know. I don't love it, and I don't hate it as far as the ending. I just think that there's some parts that were really cool that I really liked, and some parts that I didn't really like. I liked a lot of the imagery, again, him like putting the tower back up, or like the angel, and writing it on the beast that he changed to be looking better and all this stuff, not be as scary, changing a lot of the imagery around it. But since a lot of the ending and the continuing plot like kind of is hinged on their insta-love and like their bond and all this stuff, I'm just kind of not here for that so much. I am interested to see what happens with Minya as a villain. I think that Laini Taylor does a good job with her villains and making them be sometimes a little bit more like understandable, a little more complex, and I think she definitely has that going with Minya. But yeah, I'm just not sure. I feel like there's some tropes in here that I will not enjoy for the second book, so I'm not sure, but I'm very interested to see what happens. Hopefully it will turn a lot of things on its head, and some of the tropes that I think are going to appear won't make any appearances and will be good. So comment down below and let me know what you thought of Strange the Dreamer. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye!